guys, and welcome to another beer review, and this one's a pretty damn special one, and I hope the beer is actually pretty damn special too, because this is going to be the final beer review uploaded of 2017. Yes, as you can see, the coolest drinker does sometimes scrub up quite well. 2017 was the year that I realised that pretty much all of you guys watching this are absolutely, and pardon my French, fucking awesome. Especially the guys from the UK Beer Tube group that I've been hanging around with, who have, I've got family around me who have been my rock for these past 6 months. But the guys like Craig, Paul, Harry, Dean, Jake, Rob, Rod, Joe, Gaz, James, who I was so lucky to meet while I was in Germany, and hopefully I will be meeting him fairly soon in the new year. I've come to know some absolutely wonderful people who aren't just acquaintances. To me, they have become really quite dear friends. And when I was going through some of the hardships in the situation that I was in, I was having much more direct contact with those guys, and they have kept me sane and kept me strong. You guys watching this, the guys who comment, the guys who watch regularly, thumb up the videos, get in touch with me both here on YouTube and on Facebook, to everyone who follows me on Instagram and Twitter, even though I have been lacking on those platforms fairly recently, you guys have just made 2017 so much more bearable than it should have been. Soppiness aside, just a massive thank you. Really from the bottom of my heart, and this beer is dedicated to each and every one of you. Today we are venturing into the Fuller's Vintage Ale series, and this is the first one that I've ever had, and this is of course the 2017 Vintage Ale, clocking in at 8.5% ABV. Picked this up in booths in Salford in Media City for £4.50, even though I've seen on some of the supermarket deal websites that you can get 3 of these for £5. How amazing is that? I've heard some good things about this one from various beer tubers and friends, and yeah, I thought I would pop my cherry because I only bought 1 of these, and even though the Fuller's Vintage Ale is famed for, the cellaring, the value of some of these beers goes up tremendously year from year. But by the nature of this beer, I thought this would be a prime beer to drink fresh. So first and foremost, beautiful, beautiful packaging, presentation, a real sense of luxury and classic sophistication, much like myself. When you get the beer out itself, let's pop that to the side. Wonderfully presented, beautiful label on the front and back, a lovely seal on the neck, which I'm hoping to preserve because I do not want to break that. And yeah, so this is number 98,879. Fuller's Vintage Ale, brewed beside the Thames since 1845. I'm pretty much sure at least 90% of the people watching this have tried a Fuller's Vintage Ale, no matter what vintage it is. And I'm actually trying to see if I can peel this label off without it damaging. Don't think I will, so hey ho. But yeah, beautifully presented. And of course you get a nice little booklet with some tasting notes, which I'm going to quickly go through. So this year's Vintage Ale is the 21st edition of our limited edition brew, and like any great 21st, we've celebrated in style. The 2017 recipe has been created by our new head brewer, Georgina Young, and in the spirit of all things new, uses a malt and hop combination never seen before in a Fuller's beer. So Georgina Young, the new head brewer, goes on to say, 2 years ago, working under former head brewer John Keeling, I was lucky enough to visit Yakima, Washington, where I was introduced to an experimental hop variety known as Denali. Denali has a big, inviting aroma that imparts pineapple, citrus and pine notes, perfect for bringing a gentle tropical touch to the Vintage Ale series. It's been used here both late in the boil and for dry hopping, dovetailing with classic British hop varieties Target and Goldings. We've also used a new malting barley this year, a British variety called, and I'm pretty sure I'm butchering this, Laureate or Laureata, I'm not too sure how that's pronounced, Laureate. New varieties don't come along very often, so I thought it fitting to use one this year alongside our new American hop. Laureata is a very high yielding spring variety which has been embraced by growers, brewers and distillers alike. As with every vintage ale, I'm extremely excited to see how these new ingredients work together as the flavours of this bottled conditioned beer develop over time. Now, the reason why I'm going to be drinking this fresh is because of the experimental nature and the fact that it does seem to be a little bit more hop forward than previous efforts. So there's another little bit on the back which goes into a little bit of history, but I will be putting all links down below so you can read up on it for yourself. One of London's last remaining family brewers, Fuller's has been brewing beside the Thames since 1845. Over the years, our quest for excellence has never relented, and in 1997 we set out to create something extra special for ale aficionados. Vintage Ale is an annual limited edition brew celebrating the year's most notable ingredients or commemorating its most remarkable event. Each year's beer is unique from the last, yet all are created to mature over time. In short, Vintage Ale is the most special beer to leave the Griffin Brewery every year, and just like Fuller's, it will keep getting better with age. Let me just fix my cheap Topman bow tie. So anyway, I've gassed for way too long now. I'm really intrigued to try this one. My good friend Lee, aka the former King of Beer Tube himself, Lee Russell, has reviewed this, and he's got a couple of extra bottles that he will be looking at in I think it's like 6 months and then a year down the line, if not a little bit longer, like 3 years and then maybe 5 years down the line. So as is always the case with my reviews, if any of my friends and fellow beer tubers have reviewed the beer in question, then all of the links are down below. So anyway, beautifully presented, it's got a real sense of occasion to it, and yeah, I'm very excited to pop my vintage ale cherry. So without any further ado, let's get this opened, because I don't think I'm going to save that label on the neck, which is always a shame. But hey ho, it's what's inside the bottle that counts. Using my Beer Moth snifter, which is one of my favourite glasses. And look at that. Really, really nice. So, let me pop that there. Not really working with the best environment right now, it has to be said. But yeah, beer in the glass then. And that is a lovely sort of... it's got amber hues in there, but it's almost got this like dirty rusticness to it as well. Beer poured with no head whatsoever. It's got lovely clarity. It certainly looks like a lovely, lovely beer. Nice gentle carbonation. And yeah, very pretty indeed. So let's see what we get on the aroma. Well, I am getting that like citrusy hop vibe coming from this. It's not like necessarily potent or anything like that, but it's definitely detectable. Yeah, it's got this like lovely like nutty caramel malty character as well, mixing nicely with this gentle citrusy hop character. There's like this dirty earthiness in there as well, a little bit sweeter than I was expecting it to be. It's got that sort of like rum raisin sort of vibe to it, almost like maybe a slight sweet sherry. There's this really nice marriage between the malts and the hops. It's sweet, it's a little bit hoppy, a little bit citrusy, not really overwhelmingly tropical or fruity, like a Weetabix warmed up almost as well, mixing with that, like, you know, when it's absorbed all the milk and you put it in the microwave for a little bit. Yeah, got this lovely graininess to it as well. It's a really nicely balanced, subtle beer. There's no really strong aromas coming out of this one. It's just a really nice beer to smell. Anyway, hopefully that translates well in the taste. Cheers guys, dedicating this one to all of you out there watching this, and to all the people who I left behind in Germany. Well, that's interesting. The first thing I got on that first mouthful, on the intake, was a big woodiness, minerally oak tannins almost. Then you get this like earthiness from the hops, which I'm attributed to those British hops that have been used. And then it's just lifted slightly by this intriguing citrusy hop character, which is both familiar but unique. Lovely malt build in this. Lovely, chewy, sticky malt character. And that sort of like sherry character as well is really picking up. Like a nice, you know, like the really nice flavour of a sweet sherry. That's what I'm getting from this. Like, it's got that like almost liqueur spirit character without the alcohol harshness. You do detect that alcohol, which I think is a good thing for a beer like this, because you'll want to sip it a little bit, but it's not harsh in any way. The body on this beer is a little bit weird for me. It's a little bit lighter than I was expecting, but it's like syrupy and sticky at the same time. Like, my lips are really sticky right now. There's like a coating on them. The great thing is, even though it is a lighter body than I was expecting and actually wanting, it's carrying those flavours really, really nicely. It's not too heavy or sweet or sticky. It's not too bitter, not too earthy. There's a really nice spiced tone in there as well. I went into this thinking that a beer like this might not actually age as well as they're expecting to because of that experimental hop. But even if that slight citrusiness was to fade, I think there's enough there that could come out and play around. So I'm actually really intrigued to try and pick up another bottle of this and just forget about it for a couple of years. You know, it's got a real sense of occasion to it, and I can't think of a better time to be drinking this than around Christmas like I'm doing. And I think this is a really solid beer to see off 2017. It would be a perfect beer to drink for New Year's Eve as well. It's got this like slight lager, like German lager character to it, which I think I'm getting because it's got a lighter body. I'm not blown away by this beer, don't get me wrong, but I'm very pleasantly surprised, and I think this is actually quite a good introduction to the Vintage Ale series, because there's nothing overwhelming in there, and it's accessible as much as it is accomplished. It's a very well brewed beer. Now I'm sure there'll be traditionalists who will be quite opposed to this one compared to previous efforts, but for me I think that's a damn good, well brewed and intriguing beer that's got presence. It's got a real sense of occasion to it, and yeah, I'm just kicking myself that I didn't pick up another bottle to age. Yeah, it's a lovely beer. It's, you know, it's not blowing me away like I said, but I'm going to happily finish that one and enjoy the rest of it. So if I was to give it a rating then, I'd give this one probably an 8.5 to a 9 out of 10. If it had a little bit more body, if it was a little bit more bold in that regard, then it would probably get a higher mark. It's actually quite nice to have a higher ABV beer where you actually detect that ABV. Really nice warming sensation as it's going down. It's just like the tip on the iceberg. And yeah, if you come across it, definitely pick yourself up a couple of bottles of this one. But I'm sure most of you guys are, you know, picking these up as they come out. And I wish I could have been able to pick up a bottle of the Imperial Stout that they do, but I could not find anywhere nearby that was stocking it. So Fullers, if you're watching this, help a pale white boy out. And no, I'm joking. But if you want to, the people at Fullers, then I'll happily oblige and review it for you. Anyway, really wonderful job. Fullers are a fantastic brewery. You don't need me to say that, because I'm pretty sure each and every one of you watching this already knows that by now. Doesn't matter which part of the spectrum you are when it comes to beer. But I really like that, and I think that's a very fitting beer to see out 2017, and it's a very fitting beer to raise to the people who I care about, and that's each and every one of you guys watching this and those who aren't watching it. Yeah, really nice beer to dedicate to someone, and what a gift to give to someone, do you know what I mean? Just a really solid beer. So if you've tried this one, let me know your thoughts, opinions. What's been your favourite vintage of the Fuller's vintage ales? And yeah, like I said, if any of my friends and fellow beer tubers have reviewed this one, then their links will be down below in the description box. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for all of the support, and I know it's only going to get better in 2018. So hopefully some exciting things will be happening for the channel, and hopefully I'll be sharing more exquisite beers with you guys. And it's been a privilege to do these beer reviews. It seriously has. I'm not just saying this because I've already had a few beers today. I mean it. This is more than just reviewing beers. It's the connections that I've made. It's the relationships and the friendships that I hope will last for years to come. This is going to be a hell of a long video to edit, and it's going to be a bitch to upload in HD, but I don't care because it's worth it. And you're worth it too. Thank you guys for watching. Check out my Fuller's playlist for more beers. You know, I need to get my hands on more Fuller's beers because I think they're such a wonderful brewery, and this is a fine example of what they can do. But as if you needed me to tell you that. Anyway, thank you guys, and I shall hopefully see you a lot in 2018. Chin chin.